Good morning and welcome to another episode of The Future of Europe. I am Manon Tillet and I'm delighted to welcome today Ylona Nido, a student at the Catholic University of Lille in the Master's degree European Law and Litigation. And today we'll talk about two very famous companies, Amazon and Airbnb. So Ylona, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
To know a bit more, how did Airbnb and Amazon challenge the measures put in place in Italy, and how is this significant?
So Airbnb and Amazon are challenging Italy's rules, which require them to register with the Italian Communications Regulatory Authority, disclose detailed corporate information, and pay financial contributions. So these companies argue that such requirements contradict the EU's principle of free movement of services because they are already regulated by their home countries by the e-commerce directive. So Ireland for Airbnb and Luxembourg for Amazon. And this case is significant because it highlights a key tension in the EU. So how to balance the desire for a unified digital single market with the right of member states to address local concerns. Indeed, Italy's measures aimed at ensuring transparency and fairness, but raise the question of how far national governments can go without fragmenting the single market. The outcome of this case will set a precedent for how digital platforms are governed across Europe and could impact both businesses and consumers by clarifying the scope of national regulatory powers.
And in practice, how does EU law address this balance between national and EU-wide rules?
So, especially through the e-commerce directive, this directive ensures the principle of home country control, meaning that a service provider is primarily regulated by the laws of its country of establishment. And for Airbnb and Amazon, this means being governed by Irish and Luxembourgish rules, not Italy's rules. Italy justified its measures under Article 3, Paragraph 4 of the directive, which allows exceptions for public interests, such as public policy or consumer protection. But however, the court found these measures disproportionate and unnecessary, as they created additional administrative and financial burdens without sufficient justifications.
And could you maybe tell us how this case will shape the future of platform regulation across the European Union?
So the court's decision confirms that member states cannot impose burdensome rules that conflict with EU principles, which benefits platforms like Airbnb and Amazon by reducing regulatory fragmentation. But at the same time, it reinforces the importance of protecting the single market, ensuring that smaller businesses relying on these platforms can compete without facing unnecessary national restrictions. However, the case also underscores the limitations of the current EU framework, which is why upcoming reforms such as the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act are critical. And these new regulations aim to strike a balance by creating uniform rules for platforms while allowing member states to address local concern.
I see. Thank you for your answer. And in your opinion, do you think these rulings will favor large platforms like Amazon and Airbnb, or do you think they will protect smaller platforms and businesses and consumers?
So it's easy to see these rulings as favoring large platforms since they reduce compliance costs and regulatory burdens. But the benefits go beyond these companies. In fact, small businesses like local hosts on Airbnb or independent sellers on Amazon also stand to gain because harmonized rules mean they can operate across borders without dealing with a patchwork of national regulations, leveling the playing field. Consumers too benefit from consistent protections and greater access to services across the EU. On the other hand, member states may see this as a limitation on their ability to address pressing local issues, such as housing shortages, linked to short-term rentals or market imbalances caused by powerful platforms. So the judgment shows that while the EU values regulatory consistency, it also needs to address the broader challenge of ensuring fairness and accountability in the digital economy.
Well, thank you very much, Ylona, for your answers and your time, and thank you for everyone who have been listening to this episode of The Future of Europe.